Okay, it looks like I am live. I'm gonna wait for Lex to pop in. Happy Friday, everyone. Okay, looks like she's popping in. Should be connecting. There she is.
I'm just trying. I have to get my volume to where I can hear you now.
Are we good? Are we working?
I think we're working.
Sweet. All right.
Hi,
we have a few people popping in. I love it. Happy Friday, everyone.
Hi, guys.
Cool. Let's give it a minute for people to just hop in, and then we can dive into it.
I feel like it's getting gloomy outside. I need lights. There we go.
Come to Chicago. It's 75 and sunny.
Ooh, I can add a filter.
Ooh.
It's like,
wait,
I'll get like some weird like jumping one. No, I'm not gonna do it.
What's going on, Gregory? How are you? He was a trainer at Lifetime.
I've always wanted to go try a Lifetime. They're like insane.
So nice. And the pool is so nice too. And it literally feels like a mall. Like there's like a spa in there. It's crazy.
So everyone says we have one in Charlotte. I've just never been.
You should go. You should try it out.
Me and Nick should just like take a Saturday and like go do a long session or something.
For sure. It's really nice. The equipment's nice too. They have a lot of squat racks, which are always hard to find these days.
Yeah, there's like two, and there's always like a line for them.
It's so annoying. I'm like, oh no, I have to go up and actually ask someone like when you're going to be.
Oh no, I have to talk.
It's awful. Social interaction, no.
Yeah, that's funny.
All right.
Let's see. I'm gonna turn my volume up. I feel like there we go.
Yeah, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah, I can hear you. We're good.
All right, everyone. So we are going to be diving into nutrition and fitness myths that both Lex and I hear quite often. I know I used to believe some of these myself. I'm sure you did too, Lex. But
I believe most of them myself. So you live and you learn.
Exactly. So we're going to try and take some of these myths out of your fitness journey if you're just getting started, or maybe you're in your fitness journey and you're just looking for a new perspective.
Yeah. So do you want to start with one? Do you want me to start with one? We both have a list and we're just going to kind of run down them and touch on each of them. So
yeah, you can start. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first one that I have that I've actually heard kind of recently while I was at the top of my brain was that all fat is bad for you. Like fat makes you fat. I know we had the keto trend where fat was amazing, but now I've heard all fat is bad for you. So yeah, that's not true at all. So we want to avoid trans fats as much as possible. And you're going to find these trans fats in fried food. So that's going to be the main one, but getting all of your monosaturated, polysaturated, saturated fats in, especially with your omega-3 fatty acids. Oh my God, your brain function will love you for consuming these. So there's so many benefits as far as like your vitamin and mineral absorption, like all of those things that ties into healthy fats. And then I have a little like kind of story about this one as well. I don't know if Maddie's on here. She might be on here. But one of my current clients, she is actually going to be cancer-free from stem cell treatment for 5 years on the 9th. So that's coming up, which is like huge. And when she went through all these treatments, her hormones, of course, went crazy. She lost her period. She hasn't had a cycle in 5 years. After a month of working together, I put her on high levels of fats because I knew for healthy hormones for our age women, just in general, you need a lot of healthy fats pretty much. And so I put her on probably like a mega dose is what you could call it of healthy fats. And within a month, she has had 2 periods back, like not in a month, in the past 2 months, she's had 2 periods come back. And so it's just to show you like what food can do, and that no, fats aren't all bad. So that's my little spiel on that little myth.
I had this one on my list as well because you hear it a lot, like fat makes you fat.
Right.
And sure, we should be limiting trans fats for sure in fried foods. But at the end of the day, like if we're cutting out avocados and nuts and seeds, right, like we are missing out on so many omega-3s, which are so good for your heart. And like Lex mentioned as well, for your brain as well. So making sure that you incorporate all macronutrients into a well-balanced diet, right? Healthy fats, healthy carbs, lean proteins, and fiber is essential for long-term adherence and just optimizing hormones. I mean, fat plays such a large role in hormone production. So if you are trying to go low fat and you realize like your periods are irregular or you have really intense PMS symptoms or really intense periods, that's usually related to what is going on with your fat intake. So
for sure. For sure. That's like one of probably the first signs, especially PMS, because so many people think that having crazy cramps and crazy PMS symptoms are normal, and it's not. So yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too.
For sure. All right, next one. Egg yolks are bad for you.
Ah!
So this was something that I used to be terrified to eat egg yolks because I was like, oh my gosh, they have a lot of fat. Like you hear like, oh, it can hurt your cholesterol. But when you look at the nutrient profile of a whole egg with the egg yolk, you are getting majority of your nutrients from the yolk itself, with B12, with A, with K, with vitamin D, right? Like, so if you are trying to just eat egg whites, and like I add egg whites, you know, just for an extra protein bump or whatever. But at the end of the day, like if you're trying to cut out all whole eggs because you think they're bad for you, that is really where all of your nutrients are coming from an egg yolk.
Yeah, a lot of people will miss out on like key vitamins and minerals in their breakfast because they're not at least having a couple of whole eggs in with their egg whites. No, I'm with you. Like I always bulk up my eggs with egg whites. So if I'm having like 2 or 3 whole eggs and I want to crank up that protein, that's when I'll add the egg whites. So then I don't go over on my fats. So yeah, I'm right there with you with that one.
It's a good one. I hear it all the time, all the time.
And the cholesterol levels. Everyone's like the cholesterol in them. And my thing about the cholesterol, yes, if you have certain medical conditions and stuff, you need to be watching that more. But your body functions as a machine. You've got systems in your body to filter out what is needed and what is not needed. And the amount of cholesterol that you're getting in an egg yolk is not going to hurt you. And especially since when you swallow that, all of that cholesterol in that yolk is not directly transferred to like your blood cholesterol. It's not the same thing. And I think that's like a huge misconception about egg yolks as well.
And also, you brought up a good point too, just with cholesterol. If you're consuming enough soluble fiber, that cholesterol is going to bind to the soluble fiber. It's going to act like a gel, and it's going to absorb that cholesterol. So it's not actually going to translate into spiking your blood cholesterol, is another way to look at it too. So it's very interesting though how often I hear that one.
That one's a lot, and I hear that one more. And just like whenever someone asks what I do, and I tell them that I'm like a nutritionist, soon to be dietitian, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what do you think about eggs?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? What do I think about eggs? Like that was random.
Like I eat them every day.
What do you mean?"
Okay, wait. We have a comment. Hi, I have high cholesterol. Any tips?
I think what Kendall just mentioned on was with the soluble fiber is huge. Because like you said, it's going to break it down more and make it more digestible pretty much. And it's not going to directly transfer over into your bloodstream from the food. Another thing, go ahead. I see you saying something.
No, you're good. You're good. I was going to say also fish oil and getting in enough omega-3, so wild-caught salmon. I also recommend a high-quality fish oil supplement. The research does show that it does help improve cholesterol levels by lowering LDL, increasing HDL, which is going to be your good cholesterol. So that's another tip as well.
I was going to say omega-3s, so you took the words out of my mouth.
Like we have all of the same things that we want to say.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, go for it. What's another one you got? There you go.
Okay. My next one a lot is cardio is best for weight loss.
Oh yeah. Here we go.
A lot of girls, when I first put them on their training plan, there's only like 1 or 2 cardio days in there. And they're all so used to like going for runs because one, if they're not used to the gym, that's all they really know how to do is go straight to the cardio section and hop on that treadmill and just go for it. But in reality, cardio is not the best, because if you think about what you're doing in a cardio session, say you're on the stairs or you're on an elliptical or something like that for 30 minutes, you are burning calories for those 30 minutes. When you get off, that's pretty much it. When, like, that's all you've burned your calories for. But when you do a weight training session, you will burn calories for up to 48 hours after that, because of what required by your body to rebuild up those muscles. So in reality, yes, cardio is good for cardiovascular function, but to hit those weight goals and build that lean muscle mass so that you're burning body fat on your own, pretty much, you can do it like while you sleep if you get enough muscle mass on your body. Weight training is going to be where it's at for you.
For sure. Weight training is definitely superior when it comes to fat loss, especially because when you look at it from a body composition standpoint, the more you weight train, the more that you're adding lean muscle, the more muscle that you have on your frame, like you mentioned, the more calories you're naturally going to burn at rest. Right. You're not going to have as much body fat on you because you're going to have more lean muscle. So that's definitely one that I hear often. It's like, why aren't I doing as much cardio? And it's like, well, if we prioritize strength training and implement progressive overload and actually tear the muscle down over time, and rebuild it so we can really change your body composition, like, you're going to see a lot longer results as well, and they're actually going to stick.
Right, exactly. And this is like, if you've done the restrictive dieting and you've done the excessive cardio and stuff, you've most likely plummeted your metabolism. Weight training is going to be one of the key aspects of getting that metabolism back to where it needs to be too. And that just, it goes right back to building lean muscle mass. Having that on your body will boost that metabolism.
Absolutely. I love weight training, and now I really don't enjoy cardio. I used to be the polar opposite too. I would only do cardio, and then I was like all into just doing like cardio based classes, like cycling, like all that. And I think like, cardio has a time and place, especially for heart health. Like if we're looking at cardiovascular health, like even for my clients who are in a cutting phase, I still incorporate a little bit of cardio just because, again, from a heart standpoint. But at the end of the day, like if you're looking for specific body composition changes, you need to be in the gym training weights.
Right. I don't ever recommend more than like 2 days of cardio. And you don't need to be doing any more than like 30 minutes of it, in my opinion. Like that's pretty much like, if you're doing more than that, it's like, let's do a short session of cardio and then go do a shorter session of weights on those days. Or just do a short session of cardio and call it quits after 20, 30 minutes and then have like your active recovery day pretty much, and let yourself rebuild back up the momentum to get into the gym the next day.
Exactly. And I think also that sometimes people feel the need to do extra cardio because they have to burn off calories that they ate. So looking at it as like, am I doing cardio just for my health, for my heart health, and just to, again, if you are in a calorie deficit, to keep you in one, or are you doing it for the wrong reasons of, I need to be burning off these extra calories, these extra desserts that I ate, right? Because we all know that you can't out-train a bad diet. That was another myth.
I have that one on mine.
Because I was the queen of that at one point in my life, and it doesn't work, and my metabolism tanked, and I was just like that skinny fat, you know, like I had no muscle definition to show for it. But go ahead, what were you going to say?
Yeah, well, I saw there was a question down here that kind of plays into what we're doing. She says, so will short-term calorie deficit and strength training boost metabolism and burn fat? I would yes to the strength training. For the short-term calorie deficit, honestly, it'd have to be very personalized and dependent on you. Like, how much of a deficit are you going into? What are you currently eating? So there's a little bit more to assess with that calorie deficit. But yes, being at a calorie deficit and strength training tends to be the equation to building a better metabolism. But if you're going into a deficit of like a crazy amount of calories, your body is not going to respond well to that. I see this all.
Did I lose you? Are you still here?
My time limit went off. It's like you've been on Instagram for too long today.
I have that set too, and I ignore it every time.
I ignore it all the time. But what was I saying? Calorie deficit. Yeah.
Your metabolism, how it adapts over time.
Right. So it'll adapt over time. If you bring it too low, or I say this all the time to my girls, this is where I was going. If your body does not feel safe or feel like you're helping it out, it's not going to respond in the way you want it to. If it feels like it's in fight or flight mode all the time, you're not going to receive the results that you want to see. So you've got to give your body what it needs, whether that be the proper training, whether that be the proper macros and nutrients that you need. And that's where obviously it comes into like hiring a coach like Kendall or I, and figuring out what's proper for your body. Because people will take that proper equation for boosting your metabolism, but they'll take it to the extreme and put themselves in more, honestly, going the wrong way that they want to go.
Absolutely. I would say about 70% of my clients come to me under eating, and we bump up their calories just slightly, and we see a reduction in water weight, especially like in their stomach region, like with bloating, right? We see, I definitely see like increased cortisol with clients who come to me who are under eating, right? And if you have higher cortisol levels in the body, like your body's first response is going to be to reduce those cortisol levels. It doesn't care about fat loss at that point, right? So you have to look at it as you have to be fueling your body with enough calories to see the results that you want to see.
Right.
100%. I think we have another question.
I hope that answered your question.
What's better, big meals or smaller meals and snacks? This is a good question. This is one of mine that I had. Go ahead.
It depends on you as a person. If you are someone who, so for example, I've got a lot of nurses on my team or in my group, and they typically do better with like smaller snacks. Unless they're a night nurse, and then it's okay, we need bigger meals because it's off timing. So it really depends on you as a person, as what fits your schedule the best to help you be able to get in your nutrients that you need. The whole 6 to 8 meals a day and stuff. Now, if you're diabetic and you need to do consistent carbs or something along those lines, yes, let's talk. There's a different method for that. But if you're only doing, let's boost your metabolism, body recomp, weight loss, it's really what is most sustainable for you. If you're telling yourself you're only going to have 3 meals a day, but you know in between those meals you're craving smaller snacks, okay, then let's add snacks and decrease the bigger meals just slightly enough to add into the snacks and make it work for you.
That's a really good point. And that's something that I'm big on, is we have to find what works for you in your lifestyle, because what works for a nurse is not going to work for someone who's in a corporate job, right? Like at the end of the day, we have to find what's personalized to you and your lifestyle. And she hit on a good point about, the whole myth of you have to eat 6 to 8 small meals to boost your metabolism. That is not true. That is just, there's no research to support that. It comes down to, again, being in a calorie deficit, making sure you're in the gym, training weights, and really building up that lean muscle so that you are actually burning more calories at rest. So the whole myth of having to eat a certain number of meals with smaller meals is definitely not backed by research.
Right.
We have another comment. I calculated the deficit along with my BMR and don't eat less than my BMR in hopes to not slow my metabolism while still giving myself the proper nutrients. So depending on, there are a lot of things that go into calculating your BMR, especially with all of the different calculators out there. What would you say as far as accuracy goes with those?
Find a location where you can go do a breath test. That's going to be the most accurate. Certain locations, you can Google where they
DEXA scan.
Yeah, or DEXA scan, one of those. But finding something that's actually going to measure your specific body is going to be best. Yes, we can do calculations and stuff. It's typically roundabout. I've gotten a breath scan or like a breath test done, and I've done the calculations, and my numbers are like 10 off. So like that's not something to be concerned about. Right. But I've also, for instance, I don't know if my mom's on here, but Mom, I'm using you as an example. She has gotten a breath test, and I've calculated hers, but based off of her past with diet restrictions and eating low and the whole diet culture and stuff, her BMR was actually way, 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 way lower than what I calculated. So yes, it could be like looking at your height, weight, age, movement level, things along those lines. But then again, when it comes to the actual biology of what's going on inside your body, to be accurate and specific, find a location near you to get a test done.
100% agree. And the problem with those online calculators is they're not taking into consideration, like you mentioned, your dieting history. They're not looking at your metabolic adaptation. If you've been eating 800 calories for the past 2 years, it's going to spit out something that's completely different than where we would need to start you with a reverse diet. So
Right.
you really have to be careful with those. It doesn't take into consideration the medications you're taking, right? Like there's so many different factors that can play a role in your BMR. So just being careful with where you are getting your information from is really important. And definitely the DEXA or the breath test is going to be your most accurate approach along with a coach.
Right. Okay. That was a good question.
I got totally sidetracked there.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That was good. I like that little conversation. That was great. Super informative. So next one I have on my list is that you need to train every single day to see a difference.
Oh yeah. Calling me out.
We're like, oh yeah.
My past version of me out. Let's go.
Yeah, literally. Okay, so this is not true at all. You need rest days, especially with weight training, or if you're doing, like, say, for example, if you're training for a marathon or something like that. Like if you're doing like crazy intense, like long distance cardio, weight training, anything that's building or breaking down your muscles, you need rest days. And that's any form of physical activity. You're breaking down your muscles. Those microfibers are being pulled apart. You need to give it time to build back up. Because if you have one training day, and yes, you have a split or you're working different muscle groups different times of the week, but you've got to give yourself proper time to have recovery. And this is why also protein is important after a workout, but to build back up those amino acids in your muscles so that you can rebuild on it. If you're constantly just shredding those muscles and shredding those muscles and shredding those muscles, you're never giving it time to heal and build back up. So you're actually holding yourself back from your goals.
Exactly. It's such a great point, and it's something that I was so misinformed about. And I also had definitely an unhealthy relationship with the gym at one point too. But I didn't realize that your recovery days are when muscle protein synthesis happens, the act of actually building lean tissue. Like that is when the results actually take place. Because like you mentioned, if you're constantly tearing, you're not going to see the results that you want to see because you're not giving your body the time to rebuild and build up that lean tissue so that we can be supporting your metabolism, so that we can be burning through fat. So this was definitely one that I hold near and dear to my heart.
Yeah, for sure.
That's another one I have.
All right, you got another one?
Oh, let's talk about, yeah, you want to do one or two more?
Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Okay. You have to do a cleanse or a detox.
It's what your liver's for.
Yeah. That's what I tell clients all the time. They're like, after vacation, they're like, well, I'm just going to do like a 24-hour cleanse just to get myself back on track and reset. That is what your liver is for.
Right.
You do not need to be doing anything extra than getting back to your healthy habits, getting back to drinking your water, getting back to supporting your liver with, good foods such as like, broccoli, kale, cauliflower, right? Like making sure you are supporting your liver from a whole food standpoint as well, but you definitely don't need to do any kind of detox or like reset because your liver does wonders for you. It is working so hard every single day, and you definitely don't need to be doing anything in addition to it.
I cannot agree more. Yeah. The biggest thing you can do after, Kendall and I were together last weekend. We had a wedding. We went to the race. There was alcohol consumed. So the biggest thing for that, and we were also, yes, we were tracking, but also like we let ourselves loose a little bit and stuff along those lines. It's so crucial for you to not only get in your vitamins and minerals and all those micronutrients that you need, but hydration. Hydration is going to be the biggest thing. And you know what I hear a lot of people say, maybe you've heard this, but okay, I went and drank last night, or I had a vacation last week. I'm going to sit in the sauna every day for the next week. I hear that all the time. And yes, your girl loves the sauna. I will go sit in a sauna. I love it. But the whole purpose of a sauna is to sweat out. Yeah. But you're also dehydrating yourself. So you're kind of going back on it, of what you should really be doing, because you want to flush fluids through your body and not out of your body without putting fluids back in. So I think hydration honestly would be my number one tip when getting, like, coming back off of like a long weekend, or if you went out to eat and had like drinks with friends or a vacation, hydration would be like key there.
Absolutely. And I think hydration goes beyond just water too, like looking at your potassium, right? Like looking at making sure that your electrolytes are balanced. Because sometimes,
Levels.
exactly, like I'll hear clients saying, well, I'm drinking, 100 ounces of water a day, but I still have headaches, or, they're still having symptoms of dehydration. I look at their potassium is super low. We add some more potassium rich foods like some bananas, avocados, spinach, and literally it's taken away. So looking at it from an electrolyte balance standpoint too, on top of drinking enough water, is so important. Because if you're drinking enough water but you're not balancing it out with enough sodium, potassium, and magnesium, you're not going to see what you want to see as far as hydration levels go.
Right. Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
We have another question. Is apple cider vinegar good for detox?
I'm gonna say it's not. It's not alone going to detox you. It's not going to work that way. I think the best thing for apple cider vinegar, use this because I was taught this by my coach. Apple cider vinegar is great when it comes to like constipation and stuff like that, because it adds acid to your stomach bile to help break down foods more. Because your stomach, if you have bad gut health, your stomach lining is not going to digest your food as it's supposed to be, or as properly as it's supposed to be. So by taking 1.5 ounces of apple cider vinegar and 8 ounces of warm water, having that every morning, it can aid in digestion. But proper digestion can help in detoxing, I guess. But I would not say apple cider vinegar alone helps with detoxing.
Especially, you don't want to be drinking apple cider vinegar by itself, because it can actually really destroy your stomach lining and your esophagus. So
yeah,
tried that before, and yeah,
it
just
hurts. I've done it once before, and I learned. Oh
don't
god,
do it. Just don't do it. All right, do you have one more you want to do?
Sure, I'll end this one on a good one. Oh, I have two that I kind of like.
We can do two more.
Well, one was carbs, which, like, I rant about carbs all the time. People know that. I think
this would do a whole topic on carbs.
Yeah. I think this one's a good one. So you can't target fat burning. You can't spot reduce. I know this is talked about in the fitness industry like a lot, but I still get questions all the time like, how do I make my abs pop? How do I make my biceps like get bigger? And yes, there are certain muscle groups that you can work to enhance certain muscles, but for abs, for instance, you're not going to see your abs unless you have less body fat on your abs. Everyone has abdominal muscles. They're there. I promise you. Whether you can see them or not, they're there. But you can't spot reduce and only do crunches every single time you work out and hope to see abs. It's just not going to work that way. So with that being said, to get there is proper training, proper nutrition at a slight deficit that's sustainable, that can help you get to your goals, which will eventually help with fat loss all the way around your body, which is just going to, from your legs, your thighs, your hips, your arms, your abs, anywhere there. But it's going to happen all at once. And people might say, well, I hold on to fat in my hips. Well, I hold on to fat in my stomach. Typically, you're going to hear women saying that due to hormones and like just genetics in general. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to lose fat there. It just means stay consistent with it, trust the process, because it's going to happen eventually. It just might be last to come off, but you still can't spot reduce it.
Exactly. And females just hold weight in different places. We also naturally have higher body fat compared to males, but I hear it all the time from clients. It's like, I really want to tone my back. Like, why aren't I losing my back fat? And that's when I have to explain to them, consistency over time. When we're looking at fat loss, you have to be in a deficit. You have to be fueling yourself with good nutrient density. You have to be strength training, right? So looking at it as this is going to take time, and you didn't get into this position overnight. So it's going to take longer than overnight to happen. So you really just have to give yourself grace and understand that no matter how many crunches you do, if you're still at a higher body fat percentage, you're not going to see those abs. Like Lex mentioned, everyone has abdominal muscles, they're all in there. It's just we have to cut you down a little bit in order to actually reveal those abdominal muscles.
Right. Exactly.
That's a really good one.
Yeah, that was okay, that would be my last one. Do you have one more to end us on?
Yeah, let's do one more. Okay. Oh, how about you can't eat after 8 o'clock?
Okay, this is a good one. This was on my list, but I didn't know if we were going to talk about it. Okay, go for it. You do your spiel.
Okay, so when it comes to being in a calorie deficit, nutrient timing, as far as cutting yourself off at a certain time, does not matter, right? We have 24 hours in the day in order to get in our nutrition, in order to stay in a calorie deficit, right? So a lot of people, they think that if they eat after a certain time, that they are going to gain weight, right? And most of the time it's because people late night snack and they're fueling themselves with chips and, you know, cookies and things that aren't actually fueling their bodies, which is putting them over a deficit, putting them into a surplus. And that's why they're actually gaining weight. It has nothing to do with eating at that time. Like if you're eating, you know, whatever it was, but you're staying in a deficit, even sometimes, I mean, I eat it like 9 o'clock and I give myself an hour or two. Like from a digestion standpoint, you want to be careful with gut health. You don't want to go to bed on a full stomach. But at the end of the day, like it does not matter if you eat at 6 o'clock or 9 o'clock.
Right. What I 100% agree with that. And touching on the gut health, a lot of times people will say, oh, but I ate my dinner at 9 o'clock last night and I gained 3 pounds when I weighed the next morning. And it's not that you gain 3 pounds, because it's not possible for you to gain 3, 5, 10, whatever it is on the scale of fat overnight. I did a reel on this. Go back and look at it if you haven't seen it. But it's not possible. The reason the scale went up if you ate late at night is because your body has yet to digest that food that's just sitting in your stomach. You haven't had a bowel movement yet. That's why it feels like you're heavier. It does not mean you've added fat to your body by any means whatsoever.
Right. 1 pound of fat is 3,500 calories. So unless
right.
Went over, I mean, and people are like, well, I gained 3 pounds. And it's like, right, but we're looking at water weight, right? Your body's just holding on to a little bit more water right now. Again, like you haven't had a bowel movement, you did eat later. It does not mean it's fat, right? It's literally just some water retention that you're holding on to, some inflammation. It's going to come right back off when you get back on the horse the next day.
Right, exactly. Like most likely the next day if you hopped on the scale, which I don't recommend weighing every single day, but if you hopped on the scale the next day and you ate like your normal meals, like you'd be back to where you were like perfectly fine. And if you're staying at your deficit and you're eating that late at night, you're most likely going to be a few ounces lower. So
absolutely,
it's like this, guys, not like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's also a common misconception that
weight
loss journey is linear, and that's just not reality. I've never had a client that goes down consistently every single week ever.
Oh, no, it's zigzags across the board. Zigzags in this direction, but zigzags across the board.
Exactly. Does anyone else have any questions that they possibly want us to go over before we hop off? Did we answer all the questions? I think we did. We had a lot of people hopping in. Nick just joined. What's up, Nick? All right, well, this is great. We will see you guys. We're going to be doing these every Friday, same time. So if you have any topics you want us to go over, just reach out to one of us. Oh, my dad. What's up, Dad?
I recognize that name.
What is the best way to reduce my gut? So again, being in a calorie deficit, right? If you are in a fat loss phase, you have to make sure you are burning more than you're consuming. Again, prioritizing strength training, making sure you're getting enough protein to be prioritizing body composition, making sure your metabolism isn't adapting over time. But again, like any fitness journey, it just takes time. Anything you want to add?
Nope, you covered it.
Well, we will see you guys all next week. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, Lex.
Bye.